My name is Nadeem Shah. I went to Ossie Avenue between 1967 to 1971. I was born in Pakistan in 1956 in January in the city of Lahore. Lahore is in Punjab, which is very famous. Every invader that came through to India came through that part of the world. Uh, we had a fairly comfortable life there, lived in a nice large house. My father in those days had a car. Uh, in fact, one of the things I remember distinctively is Her Majesty the Queen coming. And I remember her standing in this car and waving. I think I had a comfortable, happy childhood there. Maybe a bit disturbed by the fact that we left the country and came to a strange country. I remember clearly climbing up the steps of the aeroplane, standing on the top last platforms, and my family, my grandma, was stood in like a gallery, and I was waving to them. Sometime later, my grandma wrote to us and said how he settled and how he doing, and asked why I stood there waving. And I do remember writing back to her and saying, because I know we'll never come back. So at 9 years of age, I've landed at Heathrow Airport. My father had come down with a friend of his to pick us up. So there's about 8 of us now crammed into this car, Ford Corsa, and we travelled through the city. I think as you still do to get onto the M1 today. My first image, I suppose, people seem different skin colour, different clothes, wearing different clothes, and not the image I'd formed earlier there, seen Her Majesty. Image was a little different. However, it seemed quite pleasant and nice. I fell asleep in the car, and next thing I knew, we had more or less landed in Doncaster. My father had bought a house at Hexthorpe, which he thought was a good area, or told, and had it all modernised and renovated. And here we were, there. I don't think I slept all night because of the excitement of a child looking through the windows. It was June time and couldn't understand why the sun was still out at 10 o'clock at night. So innocently I said to my father the following day, how come the sun's out so late? Oh, he said, especially, how did you feel? So I thought, wow, England. So yeah, I'm going back to it. All in all, memories were good, pleasant, made new friends. Some of them I still meet and know. In fact, I met one of the guys a couple of years ago who went to school with me, saw me on I was riding a motorbike, and he ran behind. I pulled up. He said, how are we doing? I said, I'm all right. How are you doing? Where you living? He said, I'm still living at Hexthorpe. I care for mum and dad. I said, great. What's he like? And he said, well, it's not the same. It's full of foreigners. I said, Steve, what about me? Oh, well, no, you were different, he says. But were we different? Or have the times changed? Maybe, I suppose, there wasn't such a massive influx of people. I mean, I found the people around there were working class people, very honest, straight, sort of respectful people. Still saw the times where my mother would put the money for the week's milk in the milk bottle and leave it there, and nobody take it. Today, I think, have we gone forward, or have we actually gone backward? I questioned myself, but I knew growing up that wasn't where I wanted to live. I wanted a better place for us, better area, and I knew I also wanted to have a business. Well, my first experience of going to school in England was Hexthorpe Junior. Seemed a huge school, massive rooms, massive place. I went recently through COVID to get the injection and everything seemed so small. Pleasant experience, I suppose, a different experience. I soon realised there was no teachers or people didn't know what a Muslim was, what we had. And I would say, no, we only eat halal meat. What's halal? Get it down, you boy. Well, I don't want the gravy. It'd be right if you need it on a wedding, which I hated drinking that, so I do a deal with one of the other. Like, the sports day came, and I had polio when I was about 10 months old in Pakistan, so I had a limp and obviously couldn't participate in quite a lot of sport. And I was a bit sad. I think felt a bit down, and I thought, my father said, what's the matter? Bear in mind, my dad was an ex-army major, and he still, I think, till the day he died, everything was, you took it. And that's one of the things he's taught me. You deal with anything that hits you in life. So he said, what's the matter? I said, well, today was sports day and you came. I couldn't do this and I couldn't play that and I couldn't. Oh, he said, right. Yeah. He said, there's a question here in my mind is, it's not that you can't run the race. You need to find out what you're good at and what race you can run. It's quite clear, Nadim, he says. They've all got disabilities, but they found their own race. So son, don't mope and sit about, find the race you can win. And off I was, shunted out. So perhaps a 10-year-old, it's not a great lesson, but today I look back and thank him. What a great lesson was. Get out and find the race you can win. Don't sit here crying. Yeah. There are people worse than you are. And even today, I remember his words and do that. Again, my mother was very encouraging. She was a very positive person, not negative at all in any shape or form. I would often refer to my mother. There were 6 of us when we came from Pakistan, 2 more siblings here, family of 8. We soon found out the house we were in was too small. So very quickly my father bought next door, number 11, and knocked the door through, renovated, and here we are now. We got a 6-bedroom house instead of a 3. And we got 3 bathrooms, which was, wow, you got 3 bathrooms, you got a toilet and bathrooms inside. Yeah, both of them were quite entrepreneur and rising in their own ways. I often look back and think of my mother especially, what a massive task it must have been to come to a strange country, strange culture, language, bringing up children. I mean, we always had breakfast in the morning, always had washed, clean clothes. She'd dress you all, see you, straighten the tie. There was lunch when you came home, and then dinner in the evening. All cooked by her, cleaned, sorted. Today life is different, and I reflect back on those days, and often if somebody moans or groans about the work, I say, hey, my mother did all that. Yeah. My dad worked every shift he could and wherever he could. He started buying the odd properties, we'd rent it out. I always would, look at it, help him out wherever I could and whatever would. And I think I had passion for property and building, developing, seeing to me even today, there's nothing better than a building being finished and driving past it even today. I mean, I would have been in business 50 years this September. And driving past some of the old sites, you're thinking, yeah, it's still there. I did that. So at the age of 11, we obviously went to high school, and in my case, it was Oswin Avenue, or as some of the boys going down said, it's Balby Borstal. And you're thinking, oh God, where am I going? Uh, yeah, there were one or two rough lads there. Some of them were probably a bit of bullies, a bit of. But I think we also need to look back at the times. There was no political correctness. There was no soft approach. We were growing up in a mining village where men were supposed to be tough, whether they were or wanted to be or not. But yeah, I mean, again, with teachers, uh, met the headmaster, were a big chap, and gave you the impression straight away, don't mess with me, boys. Yeah, you'll come second. But deep down, I think you were a bit of a softie. You were always very kind with me. I always found him going the extra mile to make us feel welcome and comfortable. In fact, I honestly don't remember any of the teachers being derogatory or making derogatory remarks or being racist in shape or form. Coming here, I mean, I think we were welcomed with open arms. People of my generation and age often speak about racism they felt and met. I genuinely don't think I had that. Maybe I didn't understand it or whatever. However, I still meet the boys and girls that I went to school with. Often find, they'll see me down the street and come down and speak highly how proud they are and how this, and I told my wife this and my mother that. I even had a lady who stopped me once and said, I'd been in newspaper for something we were developing. She said, I'm Robert's mother. Can you remember Robert's? I said, yes. Robert and Ian's mum. Robert now lives in Australia. She said, and I saw your newspaper article. I cut it and sent it to him. And, he felt so proud, which I thought was nice. I never really felt that it was us and them. I knew I had to learn new way of life, new culture, new systems, perhaps they have that we didn't have. Some of the things I found difficult, perhaps like teachers. I mean, for coming from Asia, teacher is next to your father, as we class it. That there's your parents that you have the highest respect for, and then those that teach you. Here I didn't find that, and I did find that difficult to understand why. And there were lots of cultural differences. I didn't want to, didn't try to change them. I would always be open and say to people what I believed in, religion-wise, culture-wise, and I was fairly open to the debate and accept their opinion that is theirs, and hopefully they accepted mine to be mine. And I think throughout life I found that. Even today, I know that people have a view and they have a right to that view. I have self-same right to the opposite. As long as we respect each other's view, I think we carry on. Remember these were the days where you were caned, you were slippered. Now every week we had to, for sports, we went swimming. And Mr. Jenkinson was the sports guy who took us swimming. And every week the other boys would say, well, if you go in that bath, we in it, we do this in it. And I decided that wasn't for me. And Mr. Jenkinson would come up, Shah, what's it going to be this week, Sammy or swim? Sammy was a size 10 slipper. I said, Sammy, sir. Won't you ever learn, boy? I said, Sammy, sir. Yeah, I didn't tell him what the reason was. Why won't you go in? I don't like it, sir. And every week I'd get a slipper. Hence, I didn't learn to swim. So it was just a few years ago, about 8-10 years ago, I got a private teacher to teach me how to swim. Mr. Grindle, who I was good at woodwork, were a great guy. Mrs. Porter seemed a really tall, strict lady, you know. Maths was her subject, and maths, she thought you were born to know it all and had to produce. She wouldn't take anything less than 100%. So yeah, I think it were good times. Mr. Anderson was the deputy head who gave you the cane if you didn't do, which I often got. Yeah, it was certainly a different way of education here. But it wasn't that dissimilar to Pakistan. They would cane you there. You did have respect for the teachers. They would slipper you there, But I think that was that era. I mean, Harry Taylor was, I think he taught English and music. Mostly what I remember him from is playing the piano. He was a tall guy. He'd been in the army and he'd tell you army stories. One of his famous stories was that they were a guard, whether he was the guard or some other guy was the guard, and there was these two chaps used to come in every day to clean out the army horses, etc. And every week they'd ask the guard, can we take some of the straws for our chickens? And Harry Taylor said, the guard would say, yeah. And the guard would search the barrows, turn them upside down, and they would go. He said a few years later, the guard met the two lads and said, you were taking something, but what were you taking? Because I'm still rattling my brains. He said, barrows. So Harry would tell you stories, whether they were true or just fictional. He was a nice guy, strict. And then later on, when I started my business and I left school, obviously, and I bought a big house at Rosington in Doncaster. And it was on the front page of the local free press, and it said the dearest house sold today. And I got a really nice letter from Harry Taylor saying how proud he was and how pleased and proud he was for me, and a really nice letter which he said, and I think he said something to the fact that I'd shown it to my family and so forth. Harry also lived in Hexthorpe, and you'd often see him marching about as an army soldier. Whether he was or not, I don't honestly know. I think some of the teachers in those days gave you the image that they were tough. I think, to be honest with you, I think all the men had that image about them, that we're men, we're tough, we can do anything. We've just won the war. Well, 4 years at Oswin Avenue are soon passed. In those days, as you probably know, we could do our CSCs and leave school at 15 to work. And before you did that, you're invited to the main assembly hall to take advice on career. And that was, I suppose, one of my last days there. And you went to the desks, and the career advisor says to me, looks at the results, the sets you were in, right, there's the ICI desk, there's the tractor place desk, the council. He said, yeah, I suggest you go down to such and such desk and they will find you the right employment. And I said to him that something to the effect, well, no, I'm going to start my own business. And he said, well, I know about what's best. And I said, obviously not, otherwise you'd be doing something yourself instead of giving us a lecture. Hence, by that time, next thing I knew, I stood outside Mr. Anderson's room, ready for the cane. Maybe that's what I should have said. Anyway, I left. My parents didn't want to leave. They wanted me to go to college and university. So halfway house was a technical college at Doncaster. I went there, starting to take GCSEs and A-levels. Spent a couple of years there, a bit of time in the woodwork classes. And so I was always good with my hands. And And that a couple of years later, so I finally decided, and persuaded mum and dad, the best for me is I start my business.
If you would like to know more about the Aussie Through the Ages project, then please email me at tonyarmstrong1959 at outlook.com. Thank you.